Consumer Reports backtracks on their rating. An independent company deems Model 3 profitability feasible. Elon unleashes a pile of Model 3 information via Twitter. And we get an answer to a long-standing Tesla question. This is Tesla Tidbits episode number 410 for June 1st, 2018. We start today at Consumer Reports. Less than a week following Consumer Reports' first review declaring it could not recommend Model 3 due primarily to its poor braking performance in their testing, they've reversed course after Tesla has pushed out an over-the-air update to resolve the issue. The update improved the car's braking by nearly 20 feet. Jake Fisher, the director of auto testing at the magazine, said, quote, "I have been at CR for 19 years and tested more than 1,000 cars, and I've never seen a car that could improve its track performance with an over-the-air update," end quote. Per a Tesla spokeswoman, the update, quote, "improved the software for the Model 3's anti-lock braking system to adapt to variations in how the brakes might be used and to respond to different environmental conditions," end quote. But Consumer Reports wasn't done piling on the praise. Its CEO, Marta Tellado, took to LinkedIn to extol the virtues of what happened. Quote, "Most Americans don't own a Tesla, but that doesn't mean the impact of this story won't someday affect their lives. At CR, we've been focused on improving the safety and performance of cars for more than 80 years, and though this is the first time in our history that we've seen an automaker improve one of its models remotely, it certainly won't be the last," end quote. No doubt, Marta, this is absolutely the future. Legacy automakers will eventually make it here, and Tesla will have been where it all started. Amid questions of whether Tesla can make a profit on the base Model 3, Rowdy reports that a German company has an answer on this. Wirtschaftswoche had a couple answers related to Model 3, actually. To start with, profitability. An engineer working on the project said, quote, "If Tesla manages to build the planned 10,000 pieces a week, the Model 3 will deliver a significant positive contribution to earnings," end quote. Next up was another competitive advantage the company discovered in the battery pack. Research showed that the 2170 cells in the Model 3 carried only 2.8% cobalt, a 65% reduction comparative to the industry average of 8%. Sven Bauer, managing director of Batterienmontage-Zentrum, an independent battery producer in Germany, said, quote, "That would be a significant competitive advantage for Tesla. Cobalt is currently very difficult to get on the world market," end quote. So, between its general construction and battery advantage, it sounds as though Model 3 is poised to bring Tesla big returns. Next up, we turn to Twitter, where Elon had a slew of relevant tweets recently, and I've got the best of them for you. It all begins with a tweet from Mac Tech Genius, who I've featured on the show a few times before getting Twitter answers from Elon. He posted a wish list for the Model 3, including the ability for rear passengers to control the media center, HVAC system, and seat heaters, improved blind spot alerts, and a way to document issues for service to resolve. Elon responded, quote, "All items below will go to all Model 3s within the next few months with version 8.2 software. To report a bug or ask for a feature, press the voice button, say bug report, followed by issue description," end quote. Further down in the same thread, repeat asker Anner AGB asks when the long-awaited dash cam feature will arrive. Elon simply said, quote, "Prob 8.3, end quote. Next up, listeners in right-hand drive markets should take note. At Elect Vehicle Guy asks Elon how right-hand drive development is going. Elon responds, quote, "Model 3 was designed for min in engineering and tooling change for right-hand drive. Note left-right symmetry. Left-hand drive for Europe and Asia first half of next year. Right-hand drive probably middle of next year," end quote. Lastly for this story, in another thread, Graham Whitehead asks about the production of performance versus all-wheel drive. Quote, "I haven't seen this addressed yet. Are the Model 3 projected delivery dates of P model earlier than just the all-wheel drive model? Just wondering if the all-wheel drive production will first focus on the P model," end quote. Elon responded with what I think we all assumed the answer would be, quote, "Yes, all-wheel drive P first and then all-wheel drive. Production costs are always high when line first gets going, so we have to sell higher price versions first or each car will have very negative margins. As production efficiency rises, we can make lower cost versions and not lose money," end quote. Lastly on Twitter, we get an answer to a long debated question. That question is what exactly the state of a Tesla battery pack is when the car says it has 0 range left. Some say we have an emergency buffer, which is why people seem to have the ability to stretch the car a bit further even after the range reads 0. Others say it's a calibration error with the battery management system that gives owners the extra bit of range. After a back and forth between several Twitter folks, Elon finally jumped in to settle the matter once and for all. Quote, "A Tesla has a usable reserve of 5 to 15 miles range even after the battery reads empty. This will not hurt the pack," end quote. Given he just says a Tesla, I would gather that all models share the same characteristic. So there you go. The long debate is settled. There is indeed a planned emergency reserve in the pack. You can check out the links to the full stories in the show description. While you're doing that, please consider supporting the show financially through Patreon at patreon.com/Tesla Tidbits. Thanks as always to the super patrons out there supporting the show at the $10 plus level. They are John Waltower, Drew Schuyler, John Waller, Mark and Sarah Thomas, Ryan Scarborough, Lee Sweet, William Henry Crew III, Dory and Steve Guberman, Bruno Quindici, Joey Boots, Ralph and Cheryl Waterhouse, Adam Raymer Brown, Megawatt Photovoltaic Development, Todd Sullivan, Robert Healy, Mitch Long, Zortec LED Canada, and Morven Ogg. If you can't support with dollars, be sure to show your love with positive reviews and subscriptions on YouTube, iTunes, and other services across the internet. That's it for today's episode. If you have feedback for me, the best way to be heard is to tweet at Tesla Tidbits and use the hashtag AskTeslaTidbits if you'd like your question to be considered for the show. I'll see you all back here next week. Until then, keep it charged and hit the road.